There's Jazmin. She's just snoozing, and so is Snowball.
Mhm.
He hasn't even sneaked.
Hello, hello, and welcome everybody to our Wednesday live stream.
Hello?
Hello,
No,
hello,
thought you were cut off there for a second.
Really?
Yeah,
Maybe it
because
was my voice. My voice is a little.
yeah, I know how that is. Yeah, Jazmin and Snowball's he's peeking at sugar. Today we're going to talk about Jazmin, and it's a good time to talk about when somebody puts a little something in your ear about how a bird behaves. Um, Dr. Friedman said you're not supposed to apply labels. So, because as soon as you do, you start changing your behavior based on the label, and that's not good. So, fortunately, they didn't tell me a heck of a lot about her, but what they did tell me, if I had let it influence me, it would have changed a lot of things. So, hi, Jocelyn.
So that's our snoozing Jazz. And
Yeah.
Snowball is sitting right under her. That's sweet. He's pretty good camouflaging at the moment. Oh, here we have KK and Cecil, the two pals. Oh, look, the one who's looking under the blanket. That's the KK.
And then Lucy's hanging down by my feet.
Lucy's the cutest today.
I've invited her up several times, and she just keeps messing
Nope.
with my
She
shoes. So,
looks like, yeah, she's guarding the shoe.
yesterday I tried bringing Mander out when I had KK out. There's no problem for KK, but for Mander, he kept freaking out, trying to come over and sit right there and look at KK. Not the brightest maneuver. So today he'll come out when I bring out Lorelei. I don't bring her out every time because she and Cecil tend to, just be only focusing on each other, and they don't get a lot of interaction with other birds. So. All right, Cecil. Yeah, if you want to learn about Thanksgiving, I won't say much more. You really want to learn about what that whole holiday is about? That's a good time to read A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. You'll learn early on what the history of that particular holiday is, but it's a good idea to celebrate, giving thanks regardless. Um,
So we have Buktia Shah in the chat. So welcome to you, saying Jazmin, KK, and Cecil are so beautiful, and he loves them. So thank you for that. I think the birds are happy to hear that. And Cecil, you have so many fans.
Kika is another bird I didn't know. Well, I knew a little more about him, but Michael got him just shortly before he ended up in a care facility, and he died, and then KK came to us. But all I knew about him was that I was told he was aggressive. Not really. He's kind of a speciesist, though. He prefers to be around umbrellas. If you get him too close to the Moluccans or the Tritons, he's not too thrilled about that. But he's getting better. Don't you go after him. I know how you are. I'm going to uncover this so you don't go after him, because you will. And I knew he was feather destructive. That's about all I knew about him. Oh, I didn't even know he had scissor beak. No one ever told me that. So, not the kind of thing that the average person would want to find out, because the average person is going to have to go to the vet twice a month, and that gets expensive. I don't recommend that anybody use a Dremel on a bird unless they have been trained how to do that. And an avian vet has basically certified them okay to do that job. So you make a mistake, you can have real problem. So permanently damage a beak or worse.
Mhm.
Not to mention, you might find yourself getting a modification of your fingers in the process. KK is good about it, though. He's not good about doing his nails, but he's good about having his beak done. He lets me grind on the beak for about 5-6 seconds, and then he pulls his head away, and then I pet him, and then he lets me do it again. So I just keep doing that till I level it out. Hi, Falcon Sue. Hi, Calvin. Hi, Rosebud. Did I say hi, Buktiar Shah? Hello.
I said hi, but you can say hi too. So hello everybody, good to have you here.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Jazmin today, but this applies pretty much to, the history of her can apply to everybody else when you really think about it. But because when she came to us, I wasn't told anything about her feather destructive behavior. Uh, they hadn't told me that she had basically gone into a psychotic fugue, which I found out when I put her in the cage. She was fine. She came over to me and all, but once I put her in a cage, she just ran around like the world was coming to an end. She should have had a little sign that she could have been holding up with one foot saying, "The end is coming. The end is coming." The only thing they said is, "Don't let her on your shoulder. She'll bite your ears." Well, that actually isn't true. I mean, any bird will nibble on your ears on occasion, but I think what they were doing was yanking their head away. If your if your hand is in the mouth of a tiger and it has bit down, you don't yank your hand out because well, it's obvious what happens, what those teeth will do. So I did just the opposite. When she was sitting on my shoulder, once she kind of started nibbling on my ear, and I pushed into her. Now she had to back up because I was kind of pushing against her instead of pulling my ear away. But she doesn't do that kind of thing often, and no more than any other bird, honestly. So it was actually good that I didn't know a lot of this because I figured it out the first day on my own by watching the behavior. Which, hi Lucy, Lucy, you big toad, you big toad. Her first reaction when you move towards her is to defend herself. That's just always what it is. No matter who, whether it's me or it's another bird. But I think I'm guessing that the folks who relinquished her knew that these behaviors in most cases would not be appreciated by another rescue or sanctuary, so they just didn't tell me. But Dr. Friedman, Dr. Susan Friedman made it clear that what people tell you about a bird before it's relinquished to you um, is probably worthless, and in fact would actually do more to harm your relationship with the bird than help. Now that's not always true. If you know a bird like Pippa swallowed lead, I mean, it's good to know that, And I talked to the vet too, and he was the one that surgically removed it, Dr. Nemitz in Los Angeles, and I discussed it with him, and he said she's probably got brain damage from it, but she still does some crazy stuff. Like I have her in the kitchen, she'll fly up to the curtains that I have blocking the living room off, because she'll do something silly like fly under Romeo's cage, and Romeo's he'll defend his cage to the death. So I didn't know much about her. All I knew is that when I put her in that cage, she was running around. This is how bad it was. She was getting herself caught on toys. She was hanging herself off of toys. I had to take all the hanging toys out that I put in and just put foot toys in, because she found ways to wrap her neck around the toys. Now, one thing that they're not built like us, okay? So they don't have the trachea that we do, so it's difficult for them to get strangled. So if someone tells you the bird got strangled, well, you can look at them like, how did that happen? Because it's highly unlikely. That airway just doesn't get cut off the way ours does. But and within the first couple of hours, I realized I had to take all the hanging toys out. She found ways to hang herself on chains. So then I thought, well, I'll just use like a 1/4 inch leather to make the toys. Well, she found ways to hang herself off those. And so then she just had foot toys for the first 2 weeks. The first 2 weeks that I spent, I see, so the first 2 weeks that I spent not getting much sleep. And I know there's a whole huge crowd of people out there that believe you can grab some kind of magic fairy dust and just go and stop them from chewing themselves. Well, she was chewing into her chest, so I put her on, medication, and then it turned out that it only lasted about 6 hours on her. It should last 10. So I was having to give it to her 3 to 4 times a day for the first 2 weeks. And then I finally got her down to a normal level where it didn't affect her behavior and she stopped chewing herself. And yeah, this whole thing of sleeping while we're doing the streaming. Yeah, I'm talking about you.
Henri, Jesse, are we talking about you?
We're talking about the jazz. Let me see if I can get get a closer picture here. It's not fast, but it can be done. There we go. So I didn't get any. No, this is the thing. I don't have a lot of videos of crazy behavior because I'm busy trying to fix it. So by the time I've got it, mostly under control, that's the only time I can put a camera on it. It's like the pictures I have of Sugar where she's torn up after not getting enough medicine when I was trying to reduce it originally, or when she first came and she was tearing herself up. They don't look that striking because she's already been cleaned up. I mean, she'd already been cleaned up. I already had the vet appointment before I started taking pictures of her. So if I had pictures of what I saw, most people would have been runaway horrified. Like it was, and of course I was horrified. But the first thing I tried to do is take care of her. And I finally got the camera out when she was sitting there calm. But this one, you've seen her occasionally run around in circles and act crazy. Well, she was doing that all the time inside the cage, but much worse. When she does it now, she's just, slightly irked about something usually. If she's focused on getting Lorelei to preen her, and Lorelei won't do it, and Lorelai's getting upset. By upset, I mean Lorelei is now lunging occasionally at her to try to get her to stop, because she's a highly focused girl, that one. And once Lorelei comes in here, she'll be focused on Lorelei, and I'll be putting a little distance between them. But if I pick her up and put her on the floor a couple of times, she'll just start going around in circles and acting crazy a little bit. Then she'll start flapping. It's not like it was then. But now, if I had been told that she was a crazy bird that would never sit still and was trying to kill herself on toys, it might have helped me. I maybe in the first half hour, but it only took a little observation to realize what the problem was. But I knew next to nothing about her, and as Dr. Friedman, as he likes to say, or she likes to say, it doesn't. Knowing the history of a bird coming from the people who had it is probably not going to be helpful. So you can look at it. If it's written, you can talk to them a little bit. But then after that, you file that in the back of your mind. And the only time it comes out is if you consistently see a particular behavior and they've talked about it and what they did with it. So, but that doesn't mean the first time a bird opens its beak and leans over at you, you assume because you've been told it's aggressive that it's going to bite. When KK came out of that carrying cage they sent him in Alaska from, and they have to have specialized cage with, a quarter-inch screen on it and all that kind of stuff. When he came out, he immediately bit. He bit right into the French fry I gave him. I gave him a French fry with no salt on it.
Look at these two boys.
Yeah, they play together, these two. The only time, rarely do they have a problem, but only usually when KK gets under that canvas, that's when the issues come. So
we had a lot of people coming into the chat, so let's greet Jem and Jamie, Hello Spirit Matter, Lisa Banerjee, and Kaisei. So good to see you all.
hi, everybody. Hi, Spirit Matter. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Kaisei. So you have to imagine yourself in a situation where you get a bird, and when she came right over to me, she obviously was attracted to me as a person, but when I put her in the cage, she just started circling and then, hanging herself on toys. And she wasn't vocalizing, though. She wasn't making any sound. Not even choking sounds, because as I say, it's difficult to choke a bird out. They don't have a trachea like we do. They don't have that sensitive region, which anyone who's taken any kind of martial arts knows that a half fist to the throat will pretty much put somebody down, unless you got a pin that you can stick in the throat to make an airway. You need something that you can get in there for an airway. On a human, on a dog, on a cat, that's true, but not on a parrot. So she wasn't making any sound at all, just going around in circles, hanging off she'd hang upside down off the top of the cage, swinging back and forth like some of the monkeys you see at the zoo. It's just took about 2 weeks for her to finally calm down. And I was, dealing with her. I was going to bed at 10 o'clock and getting up at 2 in the morning to check on her. At which point I left only the foot toys in there. And fortunately, she never got, the way I made those toys, she didn't get caught in them or anything. But I see, so
we just got a donation of $50 from Lisa Banerjee. So thank you so much for that, Lisa.
Oh, thank you, Lisa.
Your support means much to us. Wow. We can use it. KK chews it away like nothing, doesn't he?
I just cut wood. What was it, a week and a half ago? I've got to cut wood again. He's gone through, and I cut 60 feet of wood, and I've got about maybe 100 feet left outside. So I'm going to have to cut at least another 60 feet of wood, because I have enough to make. I make sure I make at least 2 toys a day. So sometimes I have to make more, but by making two, sometimes I can stockpile them. There's an occasion where he doesn't chew up a complete toy.
Mhm.
Usually he goes through two a day, but so there's days where I have to make four because I've got other birds that are chewing them up too, obviously. Right now, Cecil has cut back because he's climbing under the piece of paper I put in his cage. I put a big piece of architectural paper in there. He climbs under there and he sits on his rainforest toy, one of those rain sticks. He sits on it.
Sweetie pie. Well, we are fundraising at the moment, so thank you so much, Lisa Banerjee, for helping and supporting us. There will
Yeah.
come some things up soon, right, Dawn?
Uh-huh. Yeah, we appreciate it. You can't imagine how things are. I mean, every time you turn around, I've never had to deal with home ownership before, but every time you turn around, there's something going on where you end up having to spend money on those things too. So
Mhm.
the roof here is old, and every time I get a roofer in here to fix what blows off in these windstorms we have there, oh, you're going to have to replace it. Yeah, like I can pull $10,000 out of my pocket, right? Not happening. We have part of the fence
Mhm.
falling down. They're going to come next week or the week after to fix that because I can't have the dogs coming in the yard, with the birds. Otherwise in Pahrump it doesn't really matter. I mean, nobody really cares around here if your fence falls down or anything. But when it comes to the birds, I can't have the dogs coming in. The cats I can shoo away, but the dogs are different. So neighbors have quite a few dogs.
And then we have a question by Kaisei, who would like to know how Babalu is now.
Actually, he's doing pretty well. It's just that he doesn't do well in here with the other birds. Um, he had a couple of bad days where he started getting aggressive with the birds, territorial actually, territorial in the aviary. So I kept him inside for a couple of days and just sat with him in here at night. But then I thought about it and I just nip it in the bud. I catch him as soon as he starts staring at another bird, and then I stop him. So he's doing great. He doesn't do well in here, and the reason is simple. In here, he can get under the couch or he can run around on the floor. And as you can see, I mean, I can get through there, but I can't go through this area quickly. So he knows that. So he'll go after another bird that's across the room, and it's hard for me to get to him. So I can't take that chance. But outside in the aviary where I sit, I can catch him at any moment. And he knows that too, obviously, because he looks at me when he starts looking at another bird. He looks at me like, can you get to me? And I can. So I just, outside, I would just have to throw a towel over him. But in here, no, that doesn't work terribly well. And they got to have an area to play. So I will eventually get him in here, but I'm not taking a chance on another bird getting hurt. So the same with Mander. Mander comes in here when KK isn't in the room because Mander will get on the floor. He'll just get down on the floor. And KK doesn't care for that with him. He'll tolerate it from the other Moluccans, but he won't do it with him. So that's because the way Mander moves is like a when you have a predator, and of course KK isn't a predator, but if you have a predator and you have an animal that looks like it's injured or scared, well, that's the one they go for. So that's what happens with KK. It wouldn't be so bad if there was a vet in town, but there isn't. So that's the problem with most towns, especially small towns. Right, Luce? Lucy girl! She's gotten into this sitting on the floor thing. Are you having fun down there? Hmm?
Maybe the
Sure.
floor is hers since Snowball is up, so she just. No, wait, there's. Are you Snowball?
No, that's KK down there. It's digging.
That's KK.
Yep, it's KK bird. He's down there kicking.
Yeah, KK has a tiny liking on Miss Lizzie, so let's see how that works out.
Yeah, they seem to get along. He does well with his own species. He's just not fond of Tritons or Moluccans. So.
Yeah, I just noticed when how KK react to Lucy, and it was like, oh, you are a pretty lady.
Mm. It just shows that they know their own species. So, which is strange because these guys are raised in captivity, where they don't actually get to even know their parents.
Yeah, that's so sad.
Now, they couldn't raise them in captivity if they knew their parents, unless they have huge aviaries, which they don't. Because if once they lay the egg, they will destroy the egg if they're in a small cage. Now, nothing is a large cage to them, actually.
Mm.
If it's a large enough aviary, they might raise their own. Well, they do. They raise their own. They did a study up in San Francisco, University of San Francisco State, I think. Yeah, they will raise their own in that kind of a situation, but not in a cage. They don't do that. KK, you're not supposed to be under the couch. Well, it's not a couch really, but he snuck his way under there. Hi, Lucy. So it was about 2 weeks before I started getting normal sleep with that one up there. She was took her that long to calm down. I'd hold her in my lap and she'd bounce all over the place. And she seemed to do okay in the group, but she never sat still. Now she's normal, so she'll sit still while I'm doing this because she knows she can't get attention. But as soon as this is over, she'll get busy, mostly trying to get preened. I just wish.
By the umbrellas.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And the tritons.
Hi, baby. Yeah, she'll go to anybody else. The slaves or the non-Moluccans. At least in this crowd, not one of them knows how to preen. I saw
Not
Sugar
yet.
try. Sugar tried it once. She preened just a
Well,
little
Sugar
bit.
has learned so much over the last couple of years, or gained new abilities. So maybe one day she prays. I mean, now she plays, and she never played, especially in public. Yeah, we're talking about you, Miss Shook.
Yeah, she has a broken feather there, and next to it is a blood feather. So I'm watching that pretty closely.
Mm.
I'm hoping that blood feather will dry out. They usually do, but because they always start as blood feathers, there has to be a blood supply, or the feather won't grow. But it looks like it's starting to dry out. So she's the other broken feather is so close to it that I have to watch it. If I start when I pull that thing out, well, I can pull it out or cut it off. If you cut it off, it may not grow in the right way. She's not going to pull it herself. So being so close to the other one, the way she bounces around when you try to pull a feather, she has a fit, don't you? I'm talking about you. I am. So this is the broken feather right here, and right next to it, just underneath it, is the blood feather. So, oh, you're gonna come over? You want me to pet you? That figures. Now, right at the same time, I have Cecil climbing up to get petted. So, double teaming me, works better when I'm not holding the phone. You know. So, if you adopt a bird and they give you a list of things about the behavior of the bird, don't take them too seriously. A lot of behavior is conditioned on the environment that a bird is in, and the environment is changing anyway. And I always tell that story about Dr. Susan Friedman, who went to a rescue, and they told her that, you know, the birds on this side of the room are safe, you can handle them. The ones on the other side are all aggressive, and you're liable to get really hurt if you go in there. Well, the woman said this quickly and had to leave fast, so Dr. Friedman got it wrong. She went into the cage with all the so-called dangerous birds, and when the caretaker who came back in the room saw her, she was in that small aviary with all these birds sitting on her that everyone was afraid of. So I've seen that myself when I would go to, that's a long story about Bob, but just to make it short, I would go over to, before I actually took Bob into the sanctuary, I would go over and, I know, pet me. I see the look. He's like, you stopped petting me. I would go over to see him, just check to see how he's doing, bring him toys before I was able to bring him in. And I'd put my finger down, and he'd climb up on my, he'd grab hold of my finger gently, and I'd pick him up, and I wouldn't do that. He bites this, that, and everything. And if I had listened to them, it would have taken me months to figure out that his real issue was that he didn't like being cooped up in a cage, and nobody would take him out. So he's actually okay if you don't have time. Sometimes around here, I have to take birds out individually. I've already had Cause out this morning, and I had Pippa out. So if something gets in my way and I can't do that, well, then at the end of the day, I have Cause and Bob and Pippa to take out. That's an hour and a half right there, if I give them each a half an hour. Cecil, you nut. I should reverse the camera so you can see this. Bear with me a second here. Now he came up, and I'll try to catch him doing it, but what he did was he came up and he used his foot and he just tapped me on the face, pet me.
Good.
Prior to this, when I was working with him, when he wanted to, he would maybe tap me once and then immediately take his beak and pinch my skin a little bit. So he doesn't do that anymore. So it's a good example of DRA, differential reinforcement of another behavior. So if he pinched my skin, I wouldn't pet him. But if he came up and tapped me with his foot, I'd immediately pet him. So after a while, it became either a foot tap or he will gently tap me with his beak. It didn't take long, just a few days for that to change. So I'm trying to work between two birds right now. They both want to be petted, so. Cecil? Let's see if I can get him to do it again. I'll pet Sugar and see if he taps me. He's kind of busy preening, but so when you get a bird that you've been given, they're giving you this huge list of things about the bird that you're supposed to know. Later on, you can look at it 3 weeks, more like 3 months ahead, and say, how many of these things were true in this environment? And most of them will probably turn out to not be true in that environment. You're just going to walk away. You aren't going to do it, are you? Nope. You're not going to do it, are you? All right. I'll pet you anyway. Big silly bird. Okay, let's reverse the camera again. Yeah, Sugar's going to be the focus of our Giving Tuesday campaign. So I've done one video, but if anybody who's done videos knows it takes about an hour and a half to do a 1 minute video. So can do one video and then try to port it over to different platforms, which might take an extra half hour for each video, but I have all the software to do all kinds of different stuff with videos, but it all takes time. And we don't have the world's best internet connection out here. We're in what they call the town part of Pahrump, but they don't have anything available out here. You had to do it when nobody could see it, didn't you? You had to do it when nobody could see it. He just pulled on my clothing. The other thing he does. He's allowed to do that. But he pulled on my hoodie to say, "Hey, pet me some." I know, sugar. I can't pet you both at the same time. I just can't do it. Not right now. And for all of our regulars, one of the things that I don't know why this is, but if you see the picture of one child, they say, "Oh, it needs, donate to help this one child." Let's say a big company might get $1,000 for that, right? If you put 2 children up there, you get 500. I mean, total. If you have a bunch of them all lined up, you get 200. Nobody knows why, but that's the way it works. So, but Sugar she is the one that, if the sanctuary, anything happens to the sanctuary, she's the one that's probably not going to make it. Yeah, Jazmin's going to have trouble too. The two big mutilators are not. But this one here, if she doesn't get her medicine twice a day, you got to go, huh, kid? All right.
Oh, Shuggy. Thank you for the donation.
Yeah, that's
Sweetie pie.
Yeah. So when I was thinking about the Giving Tuesday campaign, which is hard to do, I've got enough to do. I prefer to spend my time with the birds, But if I have to eke some time out and get less sleep, that's what I got to do. So, but I had to figure which one would be the most hurt by something happening to us, and it's her. I don't think she'd make it. And there's a lot of people out there too. If somebody got a hold of her and they thought, "Oh well, we don't really have to give her medicine," they have a dead bird within 2 days probably. That's one thing about the human race. We all tend to think we're right. I all tend to think the humans tend to think they're right. I know best. And 9 times out of 10 we don't. If you think I was, hi there, KK. If you think I was all excited about having to put Chloe on medicine originally, I wasn't. I had a good talking to by Dr. Jenkins, and I have a medical background. I mean, I took physiology and that kind of stuff in college, so I wanted to be a vet at one point. So I had a background. Plus, I'd studied quite a bit. And he just looked at me and he says, you know a lot of this biology science. So let me just explain to you what goes on. When he was done, I put her on it. And within 6 months, you couldn't tell she was ever feather destructive. And she was fine. Maybe a little too fine because she decided she wanted to mate with Snowball. Nothing I could do about that. They make the decision. I don't. And they were fine for almost 5 years. And then he started doing, yeah, you're going to touch my arm. Okay. Cecil. Then he started, made aggression common in captivity. So that was the beginning of her demise, actually. That's where she started not caring about living, I think. Because she couldn't be with him and she couldn't be without him. So it wasn't Snowball's fault.
Definitely not Snowball. I mean, I know why Chloe felt attracted by him. He's really a handsome bird.
Yeah, and he's a sweet bird too. He's got captivity does things. I mean, I know
He has a lovely personality. I mean, he's handsome inside and outside.
and maybe to some degree, people can understand their captivity along this line, and might help get you out of that, mental state where you think that you can label everything too. You don't think you're captive, right? How would I act in captivity? Well, you have rent or a mortgage to pay. You have to show up somewhere, most people do every day, and work without, like become an automaton that does work for someone else. And you have bills to pay. And when you start adding all that up, it's like being captive. You're held in captivity by all this stuff. And these guys, it's much worse than that. So most people feel pressure. In the United States, I think it's the number one country for suicide. And that's part of the reason, because you're walled in with all these things you have to do. And these guys are worse because they don't even know what they are. They've been raised by humans. They've never seen their parents. Um, and they have all these urges and things they need to fulfill, but they don't understand them. Where in the wild, they'd just be they're doing their thing. But it's hard for us to see the pressures on them. But hi, Cecil. Yes, I feel you grabbing my clothing. Yes, I do. I have to make sure I respond when he starts doing that. Yeah, I can hear the birds in the front room are watching Monty Python's Meaning of Life, and it's the Galaxy song right now. So
Oh my, so sweet.
it seems to entertain them. I think they especially like the Galaxy song. But can we have your liver then? Yeah, so they honestly don't know what's going on. And with Sugar, when she came to me, I don't know what was going on inside of her head, but she was just trying to get away from everything. And over time, what happened with her is she just started, blending in, starting to, you know, bug the umbrellas for breeding and wanting to be petted. And she started choosing food that she liked, and because I don't offer the same thing everyone else does, different kinds of pellets. So you get one dried banana, a banana chip. They get an almond and a cashew and a piece of papaya, and then the rest is two different pellets. They get their mash and their birdie biscuits, some edamame, some sprouts, and pinto beans. Well, pinto beans and black beans.
Only good stuff.
Yeah, and Lorelai, if you don't give her the pinto beans, yes, I know you want me to pet you. I know.
Mm.
And that's another thing that they all suffer from when they move from one place to another. Um, the food changes, the care they get changes, and it's not easy for them to adapt. Right, Cecil? Who else is going to know what it means when you start yanking on their clothing? Hmm? They might think that you're a biter or something, but you're not. Look at that sweet face. Look at that sweet face. You're a good boy. There's no market for that, but you're a good boy. KK's down here digging. There's that old saying about assume, don't assume, right? So Hey, Snowball. Whitterbird. What's up? What's up, Whitterbird? Lucy. Hi, Obi. Sugarbird. You are just a needy little boy right now, aren't you? Pat me, pat me, pat me. Pet the Cecil, pet the Cecil. Okay, bird. Yep. Yeah, bird. Eh, eh, eh. I'll usually acknowledge you with at least a grunt if you talk to him, so.
So, Don, there's a question by Obi Reese. It's saying my 4-month-old cockatoo crop is not digesting. Any suggestions?
Oh, no. Well, I don't. It's hard to say. We had one like that, Coco, which they had put the food into her crop. They used a tube and they put it in too hot, and it damaged the crop. So I had to hand feed Coco. Um, so I would say hand feeding with if it's a cockatoo, I would use a 60 milliliter um, syringe with a slip tip on it, preferably one that's got an O-ring. If you buy the ones that have this big rubber piece inside of an instead of an O-ring, you can throw those out after about 2 weeks because they just don't stop working. But I would try KT hand, the hand feeding solution. It comes in a powder. Be sure you read the directions and that you have a laser type of thermometer. They were about $20, $25, something to make sure the temperature is right. But it sounds like maybe a burned crop situation. It depends where you manage to get the bird, but
Yeah, I
uh,
wrote in the chat that in that case, I would certainly consult a vet, um, which is specialized in avians.
yeah, you need to
So
see an avian. You need to see an avian
to
vet.
to yeah, to discuss the problem and the cause, since it's 4 months old is basically nothing for a cockatoo. So basically still baby, of course, grown in that age, but I suppose they need a lot of nutritions and stuff. So when this isn't functioning, that it cannot intake the food or not properly digest it, so there's something going on. So the
The other
best
side,
is to
the other
go and
side,
consult a vet.
the other side of it I failed to mention is that Lorelei is the only bird I've actually raised. She was 3 months old when I got her. She didn't wean until she was a year and 3 months old. So if you have a bird, they say it's weaned at 4 months. That's untrue. That's all I can say. And at that age, they normally need to be fed 3 times a day using a syringe, a hand feeding solution. Um,
Mhm.
KT is probably the standard, but you'll need to talk to a vet. But that's probably it right there. It's just the bird isn't weaned yet. They're supposed to wean
Yep.
themselves, but these breeders, they're all about making money, so they try to find a way to wean them as fast as possible so they can sell them off. Um, I think a good place for those kind of breeders is a place like Guantanamo Bay. That's where I'd like to see them go.
Probably still too nice.
Yeah, I don't have a great love for breeders, to tell you the truth. You know, they're the worst of the capitalists in most cases. Not that there aren't some out there that have a heart, like in the movie Parrot Confidential. The breeders here realized it wasn't working and they started a rescue. So, good movie to watch. It's not a movie really, but it's a nature television show. It's an hour long, but it tells the truth. There aren't many that do, but yeah, at that age, it's not weaned yet. At 4 months old, it has to wean itself. So whoever told you that bird is weaned is lying.
One, two, three. Don, are you still there? Looks like Don has internet problems. I'm not sure if he has suddenly moved to Germany or I just cannot hear him. Let's see. If you can hear me, someone can write in chat, or if anybody can hear anything. Okay, you can hear me in Germany. Oh, that's fine. So thank you
Yep.
and hi to Giselle. Okay, then it's only me. No, wait. I can hear the bird. I cannot hear Dawn.
Hello?
Hello? Oh, now you're
Okay.
back.
Yeah, I switched speakers. Somebody tried to make a phone call in. I think it was the people who are going to repair the fence outside. But
Because we couldn't hear you, so I wasn't not sure if it's just me. So I made a roll call in the chat, kind of. So thanks to everybody who could hear me in Germany. So we can finally hear Don again.
okay, can you still hear me? I just turned on. Oops.
I can hear you
Ah,
now. I can't see anything.
yeah, that's because I had to pop in and turn on the focus that cuts off the phone calls. Obviously, it's a wrong number anyway. Yeah.
Let's see. Can
Uh,
we book suggest to Ubiri? So where because he's asking how much milliliter should I feed 3 times a day. So I think I don't know. When do you know any guide?
well, I used to fill it up to the 30. It's a 60 milliliter syringe, but I would fill it up to 30 milliliters, and usually Lorelei would eat about 15 to 20 milliliters, sometimes more, sometimes less. Um, I would ask that of an avian vet too. Chat GPT would probably also have a good answer on that. It will always tell you to talk to an avian vet, but your best bet's to talk to an avian vet. But if you have a bird that's 4 months old, it's not weaned properly. It can't be. From what I studied, the average weaning time for an umbrella cockatoo is between 9 months and a year and 6 months. So they may eat some solid food as they go on, but they keep going back for more regurgitated food. So I should have caught that right at the beginning. A bird that's 4 months old is not weaned properly. And if whoever the breeder was disagrees with me, I tell them I have a ticket for them and it's to go underground. Um, yeah, they get all kinds of eating problems if they're not weaned properly. So Just keep offering the food until they stop taking the hand food, but prepare to be hand feeding for at least a year. And you can put, pellets in their cage and other stuff in there, but, fresh fruits and mostly fresh vegetables, but you know, just keep offering. Even when they stop eating the hand feeding solution, you want to keep offering it at least one time a day because they'll go back to it. I know that Lorelei did, so I'm glad that I learned this, firsthand. I had read that you have to let them wean themselves, and I found that to be true. So. Well, it's good that if you're under the care of an avian vet, then, but the hand feeding is important because you're dealing with, if it's a burned crop, which is possible in a young bird, because some of these breeders are too lazy to feed them with a syringe. Sometimes that's how you end up with a bird that has a scissor beak like KK2, feeding the same side with a hard syringe on. Every time you feed the bird, you want to go back and forth. You don't want to do that. More important when they're younger than 4 months, but still feed on the left one time, on the right the next, and go back and forth. Yeah, just keep offering it until they finally just refuse it. When they refuse it for a week, then they're probably done. They may still ask for it occasionally. Lorelei occasionally wants, with hand feeding someone else for an issue or whatever, she'll make it obvious in her cage she wants some. So, right, Sugar? Right, Lucy? Well, thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Amy, for moderating.
Yeah, thank you for doing the live stream. I just noticed that Jazmin is getting up back there, doing her stretching routine. She moved a bit, so one knows it's time. So
well, guys,
I wish everybody in the US a happy Thanksgiving tomorrow.
Yep. Everybody have a good day, and we will see you again on Monday.
Have all a great time. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Evidence is evidence. It's public. Everybody can look at the evidence and assess it, and eventually, if there's enough evidence, come to the same conclusion.
The Chloe Sanctuary for Parrots and Cockatoos, a non-profit charity dedicated to the empowerment of captive parrots and public awareness.